What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today with these build videos, absolutely insane Arc Hunter build that wipes out this Master Lost Sector. I am 8-13, so I am 27 under with this and absolutely destroying champions. Red bars are no problem at all. We are talking about a Liar's Handshake 1-2 punch with tractor cannon. This thing absolutely juices bosses and juices those champions, like I said, and it's never been better with this season, and that artifact absolutely juicing this build up to an S++ build. Now, starting off with our abilities, aspects, and fragments, we're going to go with Gathering Storm for this Arc Hunter. Definitely the best DPS super here, and one of the best in the game for sure. Now, for abilities, definitely get that Gambler's Dodge on with Combination Blow. Easily the two most important parts of this build. You can go with whatever jump you like. I went with Triple Jump here, and then definitely, in my opinion, run those Pulse Grenades. Absolutely nasty in the PvE realm. Now, when we move on to our aspects, our first one right here is Flow State. Defeating jolted targets makes us amplified. While amplified, our dodge recharges more quickly. You are more resilient while you are dodging, and our reload speed is greatly increased, which is nice since we are using Gambler's Dodge and this Combination Blow. We're not going to have to just reload normally. We got that nice added for the amplified, plus we're going to be up close and personal with this build, so that extra resilience is definitely nice. Even like I said, being 27 under, we were juicing that Lost Sector. Now, next on our list, also important for that melee damage. After we dodge, your next melee attack has increased launch range, jolts targets, which is good for those unstoppables, and creates a damaging aftershock. Damaging those jolted targets with melee attack also blind them, so we can deal with overload champions with the initial jolt, and then unstoppable champions with punching them twice, getting that blinding effect as well. So very good part of this build for that end game, like I said, S+ build. Now, when we move on to our fragments, we have a couple that are definitely set in stone and a couple you can switch out. Spark of Feedback is one that I think you need with this build. Taking melee damage briefly increases your outgoing melee damage, and like I said, being up close and personal with this build, since we're dodging to melee and then meleeing to get our dodge back, this thing absolutely helps with that survivability and just juicing enemies. This is one of the fragments that you can switch off of if you would like. I personally like this with defeating jolted targets, creates that ionic traces because our grenades are also going to jolt targets, plus our melee because of our aspects. So we're going to get those ionic traces everywhere, allowing us to have our grenade, melee, and dodge up at all times, which the melee and dodge kind of go hand in hand for that feedback loop. So we'll have those basically consistently, but if we happen to lose them, those ionic traces will be flowing. Next on our list, Spark of Resistance, definitely the other one that we need to have on this build. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to that incoming damage. This pairs well with that Spark of Feedback, so we can stay alive and cause that more damage with our melee. Plus, like I said, with that Flow State, we gain the resilience while we dodge, and that extra damage and range with the Jolt is super nice with that melee. Now, last but not least, this is another one that you can switch out. I really like this for the jolting on those arc grenades. It helps with chaining and ad clear. Plus, again, it can stun those overload champions, and with those pulse grenades, having this on a champion, whether it be barrier, overload, or unstoppable, definitely helps with you focusing on that enemy with DPS, because those chains will wipe out most of the red bars around it. So I personally like this with the build. You can switch this one out as well as that Spark of Ions, like I said, but you definitely need Spark of Feedback and Spark of Resistance on this build. Now, when we move on to our weapons, you can kind of switch out what you are going into depending on that content, but definitely want the tractor cannon on and a 1-2 punch shotgun. Now, me personally going with an auto rifle here. This is a new one from the season, an old Sterling, has surplus demo on it so we can get those grenades back a little bit faster. Plus, that surplus, we are gonna have our abilities up a lot, whether it be our dodge or melee. Not that it matters too much, but it does help in that content that you're getting flinched. Now, again, we are using the sudden death with threat detector, 1-2 punch, absolute god roll in my personal opinion here, because we are up close and personal, and that 1-2 punch when we're using it on champions going to give us that extra melee damage, so we can absolutely juice those champions like I said. And with being 27 under in that content you saw before with that Master Lost sector, nothing can stop us. And last but certainly not least, since we have our ability to stun barriers in our auto rifle and then use our jolt and blinding on arc to stun our other two champions, we're using that tractor cannon for the suppressing, and it gives us that nice debuff on enemies for a 30%. So this thing allows us to do a lot of that damage on the bosses and champions. So you can use your shotgun to get 1-2 punch to proc, switch to tractor cannon, get that debuff, and then just start going to town with your melee, and you can wipe out basically anything, like I said, even being almost 30 under in a Master Lost sector. Now, this artifact, like I've said, is all about Void and Arc in my personal opinion. Now, this build will definitely work without these artifact mods, but this season absolute juices this build to that plus in the S tier with these mods. So I'm using that anti-barrier for our auto rifle with the authorized arc mod as well as authorized melee mod. This helps us get those mods on our armor for just a little bit less. Now, again, these bottom 3 or 4 are absolutely insane for arc. So we have electric armor. We're going to stay amplified longer, and that pairs with thunderous retort right here. So we gain bonus super damage if we cast while wounded or while we are amplified, lasts until the end of the super activation. So that just makes Gathering Storm even better than it already is. Next up, we got amped up, gain a bonus resilience well amped up, or amplified, I should say. So again, endgame content, super nice for that gain resistance on that incoming damage. Now, we can use this as well because like that, we're using this for armor charges with stunning all of those champions, auto rifle, jolt, or blinding. And then finally, we got shock and awe as well as lightning strikes twice. So we're going to get our grenade back a little bit faster after throwing it. And with those arc final blows in grenade, our shotgun, or with our melee, it's going to cause a little damaging burst that also jolts targets. So just adding to the craziness of this build with that jolt, add clear an extra little bit of damage. Now, finally, a build is not complete without armor mods. So first off, we're going to get double hands on as well as heavy ammo finder so we can keep that debuff up with our tractor cannon as well as all those defeats that we're getting with melees. We're going to gain super energy on those kills. So we're getting our super back very quickly, especially when there is a lot of ads. You can get supers back in just a minute or two, even less depending on that ad density. Now, when we move on to these liars, handshakes, cross counter, using your arc melee or being hit by a melee attack allows you to follow up with an extremely powerful counter melee that also heals us. So this is where that damage comes into play and pairs with our feedback and resistance, like I said before in those fragments. And this cross counter with combination blow, once you get chaining those melees, you can do some crazy damage, like I said, on those champions and bosses, especially when you throw tractor cannon 1-2 punch. That synergy is nasty. Now, for mods on this, I am using impact induction, so when we cause damage with that melee, we're going to get our grenade back, allowing us to spam that pulse grenade, heavy-handed to create orbs of power on those melee final blows, and that's basically all we're doing to defeat enemies is that with the shotgun and sometimes that tractor cannon if we do happen to get a final defeat with it, and then grenade kickstarter, so all that armor charge that we're using, when we throw our grenade, we're getting that procced from this to get grenade energy back, as well as on our artifact, we're getting that lightning strikes twice, so we get grenade energy from that, again allowing us to spam pulse grenades. Moving on to the chest piece, I went with charged up arc damage resistance and melee damage resistance. Since we're going to be up close and personal with this build again, that melee damage just felt right for the resistance, allowing us to stay closer and just keep on doing that punch, dodge, consistently. Moving on to our boots right here, we're going to be using recuperation, better already, and absolution. When we pick up orbs of power, we're going to get all ability cooldown. We're going to get our health to regen immediately and a chunk of it, so it's going to help us survive as well as get all of our abilities back just a little bit faster. Now, to pair with that, which makes it absolutely insane with this cloak, is a new mod, Powerful Attraction. We're automatically collecting orbs of power when we dodge. So with this build, we're dodging almost constantly and creating orbs of power almost constantly. So that survivability got even better with this mod. Like I said, it's going to be an S tier build no matter what the artifact is, but this season, with all of those in addition to this, it is absolutely insane. Then we got our Reaper and Bomber, so when we do dodge, we're getting a little bit of that grenade energy, and then after we do dodge again, we're going to create orbs of power on all of our weapon defeats, not just on our melees. So it's another way for us to get that armor charge, to get grenade kickstarter, etc. And this Powerful Attraction is a super good mod. So like I was saying, this season, this build is an S++ build, definitely, with those artifact mods and the arc specialty this season, so definitely give it a try. But even after this artifact goes away, definitely still going to be an S tier build. The Liar's Handshake with that cross counter, combination blow, Gambler's Dodge is absolutely insane with that arc 3.0, the jolt, the blinding with tractor cannon, 1-2 punch, gathering storm. It is a very good end game build for our arc hunter. So hopefully y'all guys enjoy it. It is getting into the depths of the season here. New dungeon, lots of new builds coming the way, going over some of my favorite weapons from this season so far, because we did get a lot. So definitely be on the lookout for those videos. Hit that bell and subscribe if you don't want to miss it. I appreciate all of y'all for that support. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.